On today's ChurchTechCast.com Q&A show, upgraded streams, the Boxcaster, HD encoding, and 360p streaming. Hi, and welcome again to another episode of the ChurchTechCast.com Q&A show. This is the show where every week I answer your church tech questions. My name is Paul Allen Clifford. I'm your host, and I'd love for you to ask your questions, so just do that below the video. If you'd prefer, or you're listening to the audio podcast, just head over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/CTCQA for Church Tech Cast questions and answers, and leave your question below one of the videos there, and that's a good way to do it as well. Rob Rule via Twitter asks, we've been using Ustream for several years with one webcam. I'm kind of stabbing in the dark. I ordered a video camera several years ago that never worked for what I needed it for. I just ordered a Sony HDMI camera and an HDMI input card. Right after I ordered it, I heard about something called VMIX, which is being recommended to me, but I guess the card I ordered won't work with the camera. The camera and the card have not come in yet. I think they'll be here at the end of the week. Please help. Okay, Rob, so in talking with you, it sounds like you want to go with multiple cameras and you want to use something to capture those, switch live, and then encode. So VMIX will work from what I understand. Haven't used it myself. Video Blaster, similar thing, and also the third one is Wirecast. Have used Wirecast, and that'll absolutely work for what you want it for, but you need cameras that will work with the capture card that works with the software that you choose. I'm going to recommend something a little bit different, though. If you are buying a good enough computer to do the switching, you're probably going to spend about $1,000 on that. If you do, then you need to add the software, which could be a couple hundred. Before you know it, you're at the same price as a hardware solution. So I want to suggest that maybe a better solution would be the Blackmagic ATEM, ATEM television studio, which sells for about $1,000. You can get them used for a little less. And the Video by Teradek, and that is a hardware encoder. So you can plug those in, and then you'll have 4 HDMI inputs, 4 SDI inputs. So you can plug in a couple of HDMI cameras into it, no problem. To extend those cameras, you can change those over into SDI, and then you'll be able to extend them a much longer distance, and you should be fine there. So that's what I would recommend. If you need to keep it cheaper, maybe going with the software solution is the way to go. Just whatever you're going with. There is a free version of VMIX, but double check the requirements for the capture card and make sure that you get one that works, because if it doesn't work, I don't care how much money you saved on it, it's not worth anything. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, Ralph Moore via email says, hello Paul, I just reviewed your video on the Boxcaster. I run a youth football league in Virginia that wants to start streaming games for parents and grandparents of kids to participate in our league. I had a couple of questions to ask you, and I hope you can help. I really think after viewing your video you can help me. Okay, so in talking with Ralph, turns out he has just moved back to my hometown, which I don't live in my hometown, but it's close enough, from Virginia. So this is a little bit of a trek for him, but he really wants to help out these kids. So his concern is the same concern I have with the Boxcaster. It's a good piece of gear. It's very easy to use. It gives you excellent video. Those are the pluses. The downside is you can't use it with a different system. So your $500 you spend on it is gone if you decide to go with Ustream or Livestream or even YouTube. It's just a problem. So there is a similar box called the Video by Teradek. I recommended it in the previous question. And there's the Teradek, which is about $750, and the Teradek Mini, which is about $500. The Teradek Mini and the regular, or the Video Mini and the regular Video both work on most systems. They don't work for Boxcast, but that's not that big of a deal since you have so many others to choose from. The other thing to consider is that the he wanted to do pay-per-view, and I know that most churches this wouldn't be good for you, but let's say that you had your pastor wanted to do a conference and had books out and stuff like that. So I recognized someone who would perhaps get people who wanted to watch this material. You could use a service called Kling, CLEENG.com, and that will easily provide the back end to a video on demand system. So that's something that you can use. It's pay-per-view, and it would work with the Teradek. In fact, that's the first time that I worked with the Teradek Video was with it sending to Kling, and then I was basically the guy watching the Kling stuff to make sure that it stayed working. Next, I seem to have forgotten to copy down her name, but this was in response to an article that I wrote on Church Tech Today. Thank you so much for your help. I have some questions if you can help me with them. So I'm more thinking about live streaming through YouTube. I already bought a camcorder and thought that that will be the answer, but it seems more complicated. It is. So I figured that I will need a capture card between the camera and the laptop. What do you think about are the best options, and the cheapest, of course? Someone recommended the Blackmagic Mini recorder. What do you think? My other question is, do I need a broadcasting software when live streaming or not? Is it necessary? Do you think I'll be surprised with other stuff I may need? Please let me know. Thank you so much. By the way, I'm from the Nazarene Church in a country in the Middle East. I'm going to leave that out. And I'm starting media ministry here, and I believe the good news will be spread through the Middle East through media. Keep us in your prayers. Okay, so maybe it's good that I forgot to copy down her name because, you know, I don't want to endanger her, by the way. That's something you have to think about when you're doing live streaming. But if you have a computer with a Thunderbolt input, the mini recorder is awesome. I've heard nothing but good stuff about it. Basically, it takes an HD camera in via SDI or HDMI and turns it into what your computer thinks is just a webcam. So that's not a problem. Now, if you live stream through YouTube, which I generally don't recommend because of copyright issues, it's not that churches necessarily do anything wrong. In fact, you can have all the right licenses. There's just no one to talk to at YouTube to say, hey, by the way, I've got all the licenses. Here are copies of all the licenses, so please don't ding me. And I've heard of at least a couple of churches that were pulled down during service with no way to get back up. And if they were sending all their online congregation to YouTube, that account was just gone. So that's the concern that I have with YouTube. But back to the mini recorder, what you can do is take your camera into the mini recorder into your computer, and you can encode with open broadcast software, OBS, Wirecast, or Adobe Flash Media Live Encoder. All those will work. As I recommended earlier, you could bypass the capture card and go with a video switcher going into a Teradek video. Or if you're just going to do one camera, you're not going to do switching, then you could bypass the switcher and just go camera to Teradek video. That's actually the way it was intended to work, and I've seen it work perfectly fine that way as well. Now, next, a couple of weeks ago, I had a question about doing 360 streaming. Now, I thought he meant 360 degree. Turns out he meant 360p. So, 360p, so Swift Wally asked me that question, and It's Cam Graphics noticed that I had misread the question. So he says, I think he meant 360p as in really low quality, not 360 degree streams. So it turns out that is exactly what he meant. He meant 360p, so 1/4 of 720p. How much upload speed do you need for that? About 500 kilobits. So it turns out he had much more than that, so he's probably perfectly fine. I think 1 megabit would make me feel very comfortable, and anything more is just gravy. So 360p is actually a pretty easy standard to live stream in. Well, I hope that helped you. I hope one of those was your church tech question, since they're all about live streaming. That's one of the hot topics nowadays. So if that's you, then by all means, I'm glad I could answer your question. Now, if I didn't answer your question, don't forget to head over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/CTCQA and leave a question under one of those videos. That's great. Also, if you like this content, you'd probably like my email newsletter. So head over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/gifts, GIFTS, where I have some church tech gifts for you. And I'll give you a free subscription to my email newsletter, where I talk all about more church tech tips and tricks and tell you about the great stuff happening here at trinitydigitalmedia.com, including the launch of my new community, churchtech.com. That's CHURCHTECH, the letter U, short for university, churchtech.com. There I have all of my resources that I'm not contractually obligated not to give out for one low monthly or yearly price. The first month is free, so I'd love for you to head over there, check out the topics, and see if it's right for you. I'd love to join you, help you with all these resources, and answer your questions. It's probably the best way to get in touch with me. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with trinitydigitalmedia.com. Go out and change eternity.